This week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast is its own accidental playlist.
Girls, girls, girls.
Poison.
And mother.
Let's do this. Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
Je m'appelle Liz.
And this week we're going to talk about Season 10, Episode 7, Girls, Girls, Girls. I said it like that on purpose because it's not the right way to say it.
Girls, girls, girls. Girls, girls, girls.
Girls.
There's many ways to say girls, girls, girls. I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way.
That's
girls,
true.
Girls, girls. I mean, yeah, because there's a Mrs. Garrett. There's Motley Crue.
Beastie Boys. I mean,
there's Beastie Boys. Yeah.
All the ways. Oh, yeah. So what you been up to?
Writing things for this stupid show. Sometimes, you just go, I'm going to look at a topic and then you don't have a weekend or like days after the weekend and you just go back to 17th century France for a little bit. And frankly, I think I'd rather be in 17th century France. I mean not really, because things are bad. And I'm going to explain why they're bad later. But, at least like I know what happens.
A little less mysterious, if you will.
Yeah. So honestly, that is what I've been doing for the past, I think since we last recorded. I've just been researching and writing the lore for today. So what about you? Tell me what happens in the real world.
I mean, we have been working on a closet renovation and then watched the Superb Owl.
Yeah, that happened yesterday.
It did. Oh, that's fine. It was fine. I mean, I won't go on a sports segue because no one fucking cares probably. But I will say that it was very challenging to be someone who is from the part of Texas I am where we are Cowboys fans and that's what you are. And so thus you must hate the fucking Eagles. And it's also really fun to be able to talk about how you hate the Eagles because it's a great line from Big Lebowski. And then...
It is, but also that's such nonsense.
Well, that's the rivalry. And then...
But is it?
Yeah, but then...
Then
you also... Because somebody decided that. And then... Well, I mean, Philly fans are known to be a little wild. And then...
I know, I lived in that town. It was awful.
Yeah, see? And then you've got, nobody likes a dynasty is a problem. But either way, the Chiefs lost. So there we go. It was a pretty ugly, it was ugly, oh, that was rough and to watch them lose, how bad it was. But the halftime show was fun. That's what I got. There you go. There's your sports summary. Sports report, courtesy of Diana.
Yeah, I will say when I went to the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art last week, I was very upset because the entire floor was devoted to fucking things about sports. And I was like, you wasted entire floor of my goddamn museum on sports ball. I'm sure it's just a ploy to get husbands of men in there or something. But it was unnecessary and a waste of art space.
You can't have a convergence of sports and art?
No.
I'm sure the artist disagrees.
Look, you can, and the exhibit was fine. I walked through, but it's really them just picking out random shit from different years of sports and things they thought were interesting or pretty, and did their. It was just a thing about sports ball, and all different kinds of sports balls, and so it just seemed
big drama in Dallas with that right now too. So it's a thing.
Yeah, what's
I am
the thing?
up on my sports ball drama.
Oh.
They traded Luka.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a museum. You're actually talking about sports ball stuff. No, still don't care.
I can talk about, there's more drama with sports ball here. Different sports ball. But yeah. So no, it's a thing. Well.
I don't know.
Well, we've got a lot of lore.
You have sports museums. Put your sports stuff in a sports museum, and put the art stuff in the art museum. Don't take up a whole fucking floor.
I don't know.
Put it.
Maybe what was there before was
a
worse.
Ball. Just kidding. It was a museum of modern arts. It was probably a big black space of nothing, and then you walked in and had to pretend like you understood what the fuck it was talking about.
Like the banana taped to a wall situation.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I like that.
Or worse, the NFT of the banana taped to the wall.
Oh, ow!
Fucking
I don't like that. Yeah. So, anyways, on that note, I know we've got a lot of lore this week and some hot takes on some characters. So let's dive
I know.
in.
I'm sorry, I'm making Diana do this late on a school night because I took too long.
It's my bedtime. My aura ring is telling me to go to bed.
I kind of miss when did you get an aura ring?
Like a week and a half ago. I forgot to tell you. I thought I told you. Did I not tell you? Yeah.
No, you didn't.
I'm trying to not wear my Apple Watch unless I'm like actively working out, and then wearing my Oura ring instead. Because I feel like if I'm really caring about tracking my vitals, and I'm tired of something buzzing on my wrist and distracting me from life all the time, that was a better approach, because the Oura ring doesn't buzz. But it also doesn't track my workouts as well as I would like. And so I try to wear my watch still when I exercise. I don't know. I'm figuring it out. We'll see.
Yeah. No,
Dave's very tickled about tracking my stress levels, because it does that.
It does track your stress levels. Well, the thing is, like, I can't, for half of my workouts, I wear my watch when I do Pilates. So I do want credit for working out, but like if I'm doing aerial stuff, I obviously can't wear a watch, so I don't get credit for that.
No.
So it's like hours of exercise that I don't get credit for, and that's not fair.
It's cheating. Cheated by it.
It is, yeah. So anyhow, all right. So girls. This is season 10, episode 7. It first aired November 5th, 2014, and was directed by the one and the only Robert Singer, and was written by Robert Behrens. I did not have time to see when he last was on here because, as I said, I was writing until 5 minutes ago. So y'all go look him up on IMDb. All right. So we don't get it then. I didn't actually check to see if there was one that got taken out, but what we do start off with is a girl running in a jacket that I think I own.
Yeah, if you don't, I do. I mean, I'm just going to say that there's a lot about this episode that I'm both impressed and irritated by, when I'm like, oh, there's a lot of elements of both of our wardrobes in this on the girls. And I'm just going to leave it
What you saying? Yeah, we dress like hookers?
Yes.
Or the hookers dress like us.
Yes, I just thought that was an entertaining component of this episode.
Yeah, I always find it interesting to see what television shows put as what they think a working girl wears, right? And apparently they still wear those boots. And I don't think they've worn those boots since Pretty Woman, but whatever. So she's running down the street in a really awesome jacket, and boots I still like, but...
Well, and over the knee boots are really popular in pop culture right now. So, okay. But anyway.
Yes, but yeah, as someone who is 5 foot tall, over the knee boots are just not a thing, because those become thigh high boots. And they're just, it's just not an attractive look on 5 foot girls. It's just not.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I do look like a hooker if I wear them. So it's okay.
Yes, you do. That's okay. Okay. So she's running.
She's running. She gets chased. There's a shadow. Her heel breaks off, which always sucks. And then this dude, she's like, oh, Raul. And she's like, please don't hurt me. And he's like, what message would that send the other girls? So she stabs him in the fucking eye with her heel, which is pretty hardcore. Good job. I think her name's Tiana. Is that what they say?
Yeah. Go Tiana.
And then, but he's a demon, so it doesn't really hurt him. And he breaks her neck.
No, he breaks her neck. So then we cut from there to a restaurant. And also I watched the episode in 1.5 speed again. So I'm already talking fast because that's how everyone on the episode was talking.
Well, Sam and Dean are eating steaks and looking for a case. Dean picked this location because it was the only place to get a decent steak under $10, but his phone keeps dinging.
We were between Connecticut and the bunker, and it was called Lizardo's. And honestly, though, I'm not sure I still would trust a steak under $10.
I mean, I don't know. There's a little steak.
Maybe it's a special. It's a special,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
special.
But...
There's a little steak cafeteria place by me called Charco Broiler. That's I mean, that's not bad. I don't know if it's always under $10 though, but either way. Yeah. So his phone keeps dinging though, and he's like, "Oh, it's monster stuff." But Sam's like, "Nope," and grabs it, and because he has got to find out why Dean's phone is going off, and it's because Dean has joined a dating website or an app, I guess, and he has a username of Impala67, and Sam is going to make fun of him and then dig into his messages with Shailene. And
because she is too hot and available. In today's day, Shailene would probably be a bot. Also, I would like to imagine being the one who was swiping on Tinder and comes across Jensen Ackles' picture.
Right. Very funny.
You know, which is you know, in the girl swipe where it's usually like left, and then oh shit, and then like trying to go back and unswipe and like get back to him.
Well, and what I'm like, I guess the apps like where you really did a lot of swiping were getting really popular right when I got out of dating, so I didn't get to swipe much. But isn't it usually like geographically set? I mean, and
it depends on what you set your preferences as and what you pay. So like a lot of times like Tinder will charge more if you want to be a roamer, right? So if you're somebody who travels a lot and you want to be able to like kind of jump in and out, it used to be free. It kind of depends on the app, but you can also say like my preference is 0 to 2,000 miles, right? And so there are people like, especially on Tinder, that will like, you can tell when somebody's traveling.
Interesting.
But you don't always have to do that.
So. Either way, Dean's like, whatever, this can't be, I don't believe you that this is too good to be true, even though Sam tries to explain to him what catfishing is. But then Shailene walks in. So Sam observes that they detoured 8 hours so Dean could get laid. That's where my geo question came in, because I'm like, would he'd have to have set that location in advance or just been searching a broader area? I don't know.
Yeah, I know he could have been searching a broader area. Maybe they were in this locale once before and he picked, like there's many reasons, or, he's just a hoe bag. Well, so we go from their detour, Dean and Shailene skedaddle, and we go to another motel.
Yeah, where Castiel and Hannah have essentially a murder wall to track angels.
An angel murder board.
Yes. And they're still looking for the angels that didn't go back. But Hannah's like, look, I think we got all the high profile ones. I think I'm good. But also, while Castiel is starting to talk about a lead on a pastor doing miracles in Tennessee, Hannah's going to get naked and be like, and just stand there and talk to him naked. Just stand there. And
naked.
And just naked because she feels like taking a shower. She doesn't have to take a shower. Apparently angels don't have to bathe,
which I don't understand, because like maybe you don't have the bacteria on you that are causing, because that's what causes BO, right? Is bacteria. So maybe you don't, but wouldn't that bacteria be there anyways? Because that's not a vessel thing. But I mean, but just dirt. I mean, dirt gets on you. Like
dirt, like dust. Dust doesn't stick to you.
I mean, you got to wash your sheets. I mean, like, don't you?
I don't know. I'm just distraught by this as well. This caught me off guard, and I was like, wait, what? Like, okay, maybe you don't have BO. Maybe your body doesn't stink. Okay, I will buy that.
Or maybe they can just go like click, and then like all their stuff just like.
Is that like a healing thing where you just like click and like, and all the dust goes. Do you not have like, what is it, like skin like flakes off and stuff?
Yeah, like don't we lose like 1 billion skin cells a second or something? Like so, like their skin cells don't flake off. Like that's real weird.
Very confusing. I need more intel here. But either way, she's like, "What's up, Cass? Are you bothered by me being naked?" And he's like, "No, it's fine, totally fine. Very awkward, totally fine." And and she goes to take her shower.
Yep. And we go to another motel.
Yeah, because Dean and Shailene are making out. And she pauses their makeout to discuss her terms. And that she does not mean her safe word. She wants her payment terms. And Dean explains to her that he has a no cash for ass policy, which I appreciate.
I appreciate that phrase.
Yes. And she's like, that's totally fine. I don't really want money. I want your soul.
And she's like, it's really easy. You just say yes, my man comes up, and then it's physical bliss. And I'm just like, girl, how good are you?
Absolute physical bliss is a bold sales tip.
That's a statement, because she's just a human being.
Yeah, like, ma'am, I mean, that's a lot. Like, I think you might be overselling.
You're cute.
Yeah, not that cute.
I don't know, like, who, like, I don't think there's anybody in the, like, if souls existed.
Absolute physical bliss.
No.
Bold.
Like,
bold.
Not with a human being. I don't know. It's too risky. Like, yeah. Anyway, so we go back to the other hotel.
Cool. She's like, I love my job. Dean's like, do you? And so now we cut back. Yeah, we cut back to the motel, and Hannah's trying to check out while Cass goes and gets the car. And some dude grabs her wrist after he sees her human ID, after we see her human ID, and where it says Caroline, and he calls her Caroline and says he put an alert on her credit card. Ruh-roh. Someone knows who her human meat suit belongs to. It's not really that meat suit, but anyways.
It's a vessel. It's a meat suit.
It's a vessel, yeah. So back where Dean's at, a dude walks into the motel room. Dean is facing the wall, so you can't see his face, and Shailene's sitting there. And the guy asks, the demon asks for Dean's signature. And Dean reveals himself, and then Sam's there, and they've got him in a devil's trap. Because he's a demon.
That's a guitar for the devil's trap noise that you didn't get.
And Shailene has told him everything. It's forced prostitution. And the demon's like, that's her word against mine. It's only the two of us. I don't know what y'all are talking about. This isn't some big operation. She's like, nope, I know there's a brothel, and I know that you're a demon from hell. And he's like, well, and I know you're trash from the street. I was like, damn, that's mean. And he just keeps talking shit, and Shailene snaps and grabs the angel blade and fucking stabs him, which is kind of badass, but also kind of a problem since they lured him there to get fucking info.
Yeah, they were trying to get information, and oops, he got stabbed.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, she knows that he has business cards in his pocket for Raoul's girls, which is weird that that's like so easy when she's like, I have no idea where anything happens. We must summon him here to find out, because apparently there's something. But like, oh, we don't really need to do that because I could have just like gone to Raoul's girls' place.
Well, she didn't have the address. That was in his pocket. We don't know.
I guess. So I thought it was a little wonky. Either way, we cut to a dude holding up some skimpy, lacy lingerie to try to entice this chick to wear it, and she is not feeling it. And then Raoul enters with an eye patch, which is funny.
I enjoy Raoul's eye patch.
Yes. And this guy's like, she won't wear the clothes you picked out. And he's like, do what you gotta do, just don't leave any marks. So he just like gave this guy permission to beat the shit out of a chick for not wearing lingerie. It's gross. Real gross.
Well, he's gross.
It's all gross. And then we get the entrance of a petite red-headed woman who give her a hard time about her being in the wrong place. But no, she's not. Raoul's like, well, we're not hiring, and you're a little old unless you're a customer. And she's like, I'd rather die than do business with filth like you. So she throws a ball, and his instinct, he catches it. She says a little word, and then he starts choking on this black liquid that comes pouring out of his mouth. It's real gross.
Yeah. But it seems like a real handy dandy weapon. And yeah, I mean, I think I would prefer that over pepper spray. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. So the other demon cock smokes out.
Yeah, he's like, fuck this shit. This is bad. Because Raoul is now on his hands and knees puking up this black liquid and obviously dying until he finally collapses. And we've got 2 chicks there now that worked there, 2 girls, and Rowena, that's who it is like, it's not an appetizing process, but killing demons always makes me hungry. Come with me. And they live with her.
Yep, she has the munchies. And so then we go back to the motel that Hannah and Cass were at.
Yeah, they go back to the motel room. So we've got Joe, Hannah, and then Castiel comes in. Because Joe is explaining to Caroline, his wife, that she's been gone for a year. And he's not going to leave until he knows what the fuck's going on. And so when Cass comes in, Joe's like, oh, wait, y'all are together. And she's like, yep, that's I left you for him. That's it.
That makes sense. And when he won't believe it, she just makes out with Cass.
Yeah, because she can't tell him the real reason. So she says, so this is her excuse. And it's a pretty steamy makeout.
Mm-hmm.
But we've all felt the tension between Hannah and Cass for a while.
Yes.
So she apologizes to Joe, and then her and Castiel leave. And I'm like, poor Joe. This motherfucker's been searching for his wife. But also, if like she just left like that and you find her like that, you know she left like she didn't want to be found for some reason. But still, you have to know. But still, it's sad. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things there, right? So we are all left pondering that. And we go to Raoul's.
And Sam and Dean are now entering and finding dead Raoul, a dead meat suit from the one that Cox smoked out. And that's about it. And so Dean's going to pour himself a drink because why not? And they're going to discuss the smell of demon. Ew. And then Sam finds the hex ball. So now they know, or hex bag. So now they know it's a witch, which is critical information to know that they're after like this fucking like weird sex trade thing with demons, and now there's a witch killing the demons. It's very confusing. If you're just coming in, you don't really know what's going on. You're just like, wait, what?
Well, if you haven't seen this 5 times. So I'm like, what? How is this confusing? It's fine.
Well, I mean, like Sam and Dean, if they were like, oh, we're researching these prostitutes being forced into it by demons. And then wait, now the demons are being killed by a witch. What the fuck is happening? I don't know.
Yeah. Seems like a Thursday to me. But all right. So now we go to a restaurant where our fancy restaurant where she is drinking, our fancy redhead Rowena is drinking rosé, as am I.
Because of course she is. And she's got crostinis and she's trying to feed it to the girls. But they are clearly uncomfortable being in here because they are not up to the dress code, as the waiter informs them.
See, but they are. They are dressed like I see how rich bitches dress all the time, and they dress like hookers. And like, so they're wearing dresses and skirts, they're not wearing jeans. Nothing they're wearing is violating the dress code.
Yeah, it was a weird one, unless there's a weird crop top rule, because there was a period of time where that wasn't, like, where everybody wears them now, but there was a time where that might not have been. I don't know. It's still odd. Very odd. But she puts a hex bag in his hand, says a word, and then all of a sudden they're just getting a bunch of food delivered. Pasta, pina coladas, daiquiris, champagne, all getting comped. And
we don't know if it's getting comped. It's getting delivered.
Well, the compliments. One of the things, the champagne was compliments.
Yes.
But, and so now she has the attention of Elle and Bianca because they want to know how she's fucking doing this. They want in. Caitlin. Sorry. Why did I say Bianca?
I don't know.
Caitlin. Elle and Caitlin. Jeez. I don't know. So we're going to cut to Crowley because of course we are. We've got to have a little bit of Crowley here, right?
Yeah. And he's pissed off about the bordello because he thinks that sex trade and human trafficking is tacky. And you're right. Human trafficking is very tacky.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, he wants and the guy that's reporting it is our demon that Cock smoked out earlier. And he's like, what the fuck? You're just now reporting all this to me. So Sam and Dean get back on the road, and while they're driving, Sam is on the internet researching. And I got car sick just thinking about doing that.
Well, also how are they keeping up this signal? Like, are they hooked up to a sat link? Like,
that's impressive.
This was before 5G, like, so he can't be hooked up to a mobile connection, right? Like, that's very impressive.
The cars didn't have built-in Wi-Fi networks.
Baby certainly does not have Wi-Fi.
So either way, he has discovered a site that talks about witches killing demons, and there was a spell for it. But the spell hasn't been used in 300 years. And it was only done by one witch ever. And that's the only person that knows it, which seems like a really obscure thing to be on this website.
Yes. It also is to bind and purge, which sounds a lot like binge and purge. But yeah, so this one obsolete spell has been talked about on this webpage.
It's very random. I was like, okay, I don't think this tracks, but cool. So Rowena's telling the girls about 3 different types of witches.
According to the Grand Coven.
According to the Grand Coven, yeah. There's the most common.
I think this is the first time we get the concept of the Grand Coven introduced, and I would just like to point it out because one, it's awesome, and yeah, because it's the Grand Coven. So I just wanted to stress Grand Coven.
Grand Coven.
Grand Coven. All right, so 3 types of witches.
There's one that's the most common, and they harness the power of a demon, and she understands why these young ladies might not be into that. The rarest are naturals, ones that are born with the gift, like her. And third are students that don't have natural power, but they can learn to do some witchy stuff with a mentor and Grand Council approval.
Grand Coven, not Grand Council.
The Coven.
Yeah, so don't mistake them for the Grand Council. No. That's a Buffy thing. Oh my God, sorry. Buffy's coming back. I know. We didn't talk about that beginning, so we'll take it for the next time. So follow up on Buffy coming back. All right. So the Grand Coven, she has been thrown out because they do not approve of her ways.
She's too extreme. And so she's been on the run since then. And she tells them, though, that you should stick with her and you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. But not good timing. Their waiter that she had obviously magicked starts stumbling as he's walking toward them and turns bright red and collapses after he drops a bunch of plates. And the girls are like, wait, did you do that? And she's like, it's fine. It'll be covered by workers' comp. And they leave.
Is that covered by workman's comp?
That's not how that works.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I could file that one. I mean, like, maybe you can go to a chiropractor for it, but
I mean, he's dead.
Yeah.
That's how that works. For work injuries. Anyways, so we have now gone to a random dark room, and a demon is tied up to a chair in a devil's trap, and he is calling out the person who has trapped him as a noob, and it just shit talking, saying he's not going to help him. You're a newbie. I can tell by how you drew your trap, and keeps getting splashed with holy water because it's Cole. Cole read a book. Cole read a book and decided that he is going to trap a demon to try to find out where Dean Winchester is.
Yeah. So he fucking Cole's back, and he wants to torture a demon. And so we are going to talk about why torture is not effective and in demons and witches. So we're going to talk about lore. I'm actually never going to talk about demons this time. So we will have a more lore bonus episode that will drop sometime this week. Obviously I've been reading about this stuff for days, and there's a lot in here. And so I've pulled some stuff out, especially stuff that would get us banned from YouTube again. And so we'll talk about that later. So, witches. I was looking for a witch for this episode, and while thumbing through the Book of Forgotten Witches, which I just picked up at Dog-Eared Books in San Francisco, I found the story of Catherine Montvoisin, aka La Voisin. I'm just going to butcher French names for the next 20 minutes. It'll be fun. So La Voisin, she is remembered as a French sorceress and poisoner. If you research her on the internet, take everything you read with a grain of salt. As you will learn, most of her story came from people being tortured, which, contrary to the belief of Cole, is not a great way to get accurate information. And it seems people ran with the darkest and most debased versions of the stories because they were funny or good or, debased. So my main sources for this are City of Light, City of Poison, Murder, Magic, and The First Police Chief of Paris by Holly Tucker, Strange Revelations, Magic, Poison, and Sacrilege in Louis XIV's France by Linwood Moynier. I'm sorry, I twisted her name too. And The Affair of Poisons, Murder, Infanticide, and Satanism at the Court of Louis XIV. And the rest will be in the show notes. So yes, I did say Satanism, and yes, this is another satanic panic. Humans don't really change that much over time, and there are echoes of the present in the story if you look hard enough. And I love a moral panic, especially a satanic panic. So Louis XIV, if you're not familiar with him, he was an absolute monarch longing for glory. Paris, especially the beginning of his reign, though, was far from the idyllic New Rome he felt suited his son King reign. And he appointed Gabriel Nicolas de la Reynie as his first lieutenant general of police of Paris and gave him the authority to go nuts and to reestablish law and order. In addition to his wife, though, Louis XIV also had many mistresses, and being his mistress was one of the ways a noblewoman in the 1600s could have power and influence. And he often had more than one mistress, and so the court was just filled with intrigue as everybody was maneuvering around all this, right? So everyone was trying to get in Louis's pants or to be friends with the person who was in Louis's pants or talk shit about the person who's, blah, blah, blah. It's, what happens in these types of situations. And also, though, another way to kind of raise your status in the court may be through poisoning people. And poison was just on everybody's... Yeah, for sure. And it was on everyone's minds, especially after the arrest and trial of Marie Madeleine de Brevières. Her story will be over on More Lore. But for our sake right now, what you need to know is Marie Madeleine was convicted of murdering her father and her two brothers in order to inherit their states. And then she was beheaded and then burned in July of 1676. While she was being interrogated, though, she said, "Half of the nobility have done the same things. If I felt like talking, I'd ruin them all." And La Reynie was now very convinced that the entire court was full of poisoners, and so he was now on a mission to find them and save Louis. So besides poisoning and fucking, another way to get into the Sun King's court and power was through magic. And there were plenty of people that were around in Paris that were willing to help you with that. Many of these people, the fortune tellers, the soothsayers, could be found in the neighborhood of Villeneuve. I butchered that one. But one of the women who lived there, her name was Voisin. So she was born Catherine de Chaise sometime around 1640, and she married a merchant named Antoine Montvoisin, or Montvoisin, depending on who you ask. And he was not the best breadwinner. So Catherine had to support her family of 6, including her mom and all the lovers who just kind of drifted in and out of her house. And so she said she was good at chiromancy, which is palm reading. And so she started doing that and just kind of, helping people out, telling them their fortunes, etc. And she would read fortunes while wearing a cloak of crimson velvet, studded with 2-headed eagles of fine gold, lined with costly fur. The skirt was of bottle green velvet and was edged with French embroidery. Her shoes were embroidered with golden 2-headed eagles. Very exciting. I would wear that.
Fancy. Yeah.
Fancy. And the Marquis de la Riviere grossly said that she was full of delicious little secrets for the ladies, for which the gentlemen could be grateful. She could make a lady's bosom more bountiful or her mouth more diminutive, and she knew just what to do for a nice girl who had gotten herself into trouble. Gross. But, however, I still say magic to make your boobs bigger or smaller, or make your lips bigger or smaller, still better than filler or silicone. So, Voisin's house on Rue Beauregard had a garden with an alleged hidden chapel with walls in black and an altar behind a black curtain with a white cross. There were also supposedly black candles made from human fat given to her by one of the royal executioners. In her house, she told fortunes by card, coffee, or magic crystals. For a price, she would look at entrails, evoke the dead, or give you a clear flask of clear liquid guaranteed to get rid of your husbandly problems. You could also buy beauty products, including fake eyebrows made from mice and moles, moles, M-O-L-E-S, the little moles, not the moles on your face, she also it is distressing, but also so I don't know how so other mice and the moles that she would make the eyebrows from, was she shaving them? Was she picking the hair out? Was she cutting the skin off? How do you make, what was she doing? Maybe the skin would probably be the best efficient one. Anyways,
cut it out and to glue the whole little thing on,
I think you would glue the whole skin, right? I mean that is that a mole skin? Oh, is that where mole skin comes from?
No, I don't know. There's a lot of
oh my god. Today I just figured out where the fuck moleskin came from. Okay, moving on. So you could also get skin whitening waters that were made of eggshells, milk, oil of poppy, or the juice of white melons. Lip balms infused with herbs to make those who kiss your lips fall in love. Creams and perfumes also from the moles, so definitely nose to tail. Rooster's combs, that's only the part of the rooster I saw, but I don't know why you would want that thing, but you want it. And also menstrual blood, which is the ingredient everyone loved for all things at this time. Also, just a comment on her personality. She loved to drink. And I mean, based on what she was making, yeah, she probably had to be drunk a lot of the time. All right.
Yeah.
In 1677, a fortune teller named Magdalene de la Grange was arrested for murder and forgery. She pleads to the Marquis de Louvois, the French Secretary of War, that she could tell him about high crimes. So he goes to the king, who goes to La Reynie, and is like, dude, there's a lot of poisoners. This woman just said there were. You need to go find them. And so they're like, okay, Lorraine is like, I'm going to go find them. We're going to keep Magdalene and her associates here, just locked up for questioning. They haven't had a trial yet. We're just going to keep them here for questioning, right?
Yeah.
All right. So La Reynie, he does get a break in January of 1678 when another fortune teller named Marie Vigoureux had some friends over for dinner, including the lawyer Maitre Perrin and another witchy lady named Marie Bosse. So her name is spelled B-O-S-S-E. It's probably Bose or Bose, but I just want to call her Boss Bitch. So the Bossy Bitch, because the Bossy Bitch gets drunk and she brags that she helped Madame Poyon to get rid of her husband. And if she got 3 more jobs like that, she could retire. Appalled at this, Perrin immediately went to the authorities and snitched. Then the police decided to entrap the boss bitch by sending a guard's wife to her with a story that her husband was abusing her and she needed a way out. So Boss gets her some poison a couple of days later, which then she gets arrested for. Now, which I don't like entrapment in the first place. And also, this is really shitty. You put that woman in a really bad situation. You had somebody coming to her saying that she was going to die from her husband beating her if she didn't do something. She does something to help out, and then you arrest her. That's shitty. So she gets arrested after archers surround her house, a la SWAT 17th century, and which I really hope they had La Archer, like little
less SWAT,
less SWAT. And so they kick down her door and they find her in bed with her adult children, but I don't think in a weird way. I think just kind of in a Willy Wonka kind of way. While they're in her house,
not by Willy Wonka, but you mean like the family,
the grandparents, yes, yeah. So in their house, they collect the following evidence: a pine box with glass flask containing clear liquid, several envelopes with white powder inside. One made out of the death notice of a Marguerite Agunet. I'm not sure what the importance of that was. Packets containing fingernail clippings and 6 smaller packets containing a bluish green powder. They also arrest the woman who hosted the dinner party, Madame Vigoureux. They're both taken to a castle turned prison, the Chateau of Voisin. So while being interrogated, Boss says that she met Madame Lagrange at Catherine Voisin's house. And she had heard that she was in prison these days. Because they were like, how do you know her? I'm like, oh, she's in prison. Everybody knows that, right? And she said, yeah, I had those powders. They were for alchemy. But Voisin, like, she's the one who said that, right? They weren't mine. And so Voisin's name is added to the arrest list. Now the trial for Magdalene is finally allowed to go, and she was sentenced to death for forgery and murder on February 4th, 1679, and hanged 4 days later. But we need to talk about the time in between the sentencing and her execution. Because at this time in France, they had two types of prisoner interrogations. One was the question préparatoire, which was the torture and the questioning that happened before the trial designed to reveal your accomplices and your crimes. And the other was the question ordinaire or question extraordinaire. That was, sorry, my French is bad, sorry. So that is the torture after sentencing. So
that's just rude. They've
already decided, we've already said you're going to die. Now that we've already said you're going to die, we're going to torture you some more just to make sure you don't have anything else that you left unsaid, right? And
because I'm totally going to tell you everything and be really honest. Now you already decided you're going to fucking kill me.
Or maybe they're saying, well, what do you got left to lose? Like, they'll tell us everything because we're going to kill her. Or maybe think if we give them something that they want, they may change their minds about what that sentence was, right?
Yeah, that's wild.
And so they had the extraordinaire and the ordinaire. And basically one was like fucked and the other was extra fucked. And on more lore, I'll go into the torture techniques. So Lagrange was put to torture, and La Reynier was not allowed to attend this because this was still under the jurisdiction of the Parliament, right? And he was kind of sad about this. And she was made to put on brodequins, which are the torture boots. And the king afterwards read through her interrogation transcripts and said, we have enough to go on. We don't need to torture anymore. And that made Reynier sad because he wanted to torture her. But they said no. So they ordered her execution and her accomplices, and they were going to be executed without a spectacle. Just make it quiet. And La Reynier, you've got to attend this to show that you support the king's decision. Then after that, Voisin is arrested, and she was arrested as she was coming out of mass at Notre Dame. So she still went to church, And when they searched her house, they found there wasn't a lot of crime or evidence left in there. Like it was pretty cleared out. They did find some documents, and they were mostly just recipes and astrological charts, right? They start questioning her, and she's like, I know of this visual. I met her once, but I don't really know her. I let this boss lady stay with me when she got out of prison, but that was years ago. We're not that close. Then she decided then to just start passing all the blame for the things she was accused of onto the boss bitch, including dealing with a widow who wanted to marry a court musician, but her alive husband was getting in the way. And also details, right? And then she also accused boss
of course she wanted to leave her husband for a court musician,
for a rock star of the time, right? So she also accused boss of infusing Madame Ferry's husband's shirt with poison. Okay. Ooh. So the poison shirt. It's actually a really good idea. So you get the man's shirt. You pass the shirt to a trusted laundress. And so her job is to wash it with an arsenic-based soap. In a pinch, if you can't get the shirt, you can get the shoes. Wow. So after the man puts on the shirt, a rash will appear, followed by blisters, nausea, vomiting, and finally death. For the husband whose skin resisted the poison, a second shirt could be ordered 9 or 10 days later. So if you put this on the bottom of the shirt that gets tucked into Monsieur's pants, those boils and all that stuff look like syphilis. So then it looks like your husband died of syphilis, and then the wife also gets all the sympathy of her friends and family for her husband being a shitty husband.
No, that's wild.
Yep. And this is what happens when you don't do your own laundry, dudes. I'm telling you. Wash your own shirts. This won't be a problem.
Arsenic dick is a thing.
You don't want to get arsenic dick. Well, do your own laundry. So after this interrogation goes on, La Reynier gets 30 more names to add to his list. one of the persons that gets arrested next is Lesage. I'm not sure if that's how you say his name, but so he was an alchemist and a practitioner of dark rituals and a former lover of both Boss and Voisin. So he was doing them both. 12 years earlier, he had been sentenced to the galleys for life for tricking people into believing he communicated with the devil. He was, however, freed 5 years after his sentencing after a lady of quality who declined to be named petitioned the king for his release. So he got around. After he was released, he was living with Voisin and her husband up until the arrest. So fucking her and her husband. Not fucking her husband. Well, he could have been. It's France. Who knows? So Sophie.
Why not? Why not?
So when he is arrested, he is happy to give Rowena all the detailed accounts of Voisin's abortions, the abortions she gave, not the one she had, her traffic in poisons, and her customers. So in a lot of things you read about Voisin, the first thing you'll see on there is that she's an abortionist. And probably, but also I think there's a lot of other things that goes to her crimes. So the judges then, so we're still in the Parliament court, right? And the judges in the Parliament agree that Boss, Vigereau, and Ferry, this other person, were guilty of murder, respectively. Boss and Vigereau were to be burned alive after they received the question. Vigereau died during the questioning from a head injury. After that, the torturer recommended the boots for Boss because she was pretty frail and they thought anything else would kill her. And they want them to live to the execution, right? They don't want to blow their wad on the question. Yeah. So going through the boots, she confessed to all the charges and to poisoning the husbands of Poillon, Filbert, Dreux, and Lafont. And then she is burned alive. Also, I'd like to let you know that I've been going poison like a lot over the past few days. All right. So,
anyways,
because of the risk of the scandal to the nobility and because the Parliament was just so busy, Louis XIV established a Chambre Ardente, which is a special tribunal that was charged with rooting out the poisoners and any treason. So, because it's the nobility and the people are starting basically, he doesn't want this to go into the Parliament, which is a public trial and things. If we do this under the special investigation, I can kind of control what goes out to the public, right? About who's being accused, what's being said, blah, blah, blah. So they're also the place that they were having it, this chamber was super dark and had all these candles on the wall, and it was very medieval torturing. So they finally arrest the first two noble women in April, and the jailers at Voisin, which is the former castle that's now a prison, they were instructed to make them not live in filth like all the other the other prisoners were. No, we can't have them lie in this filthy mattress. You get a clean bed, candles, and warm meals. One of those women did beat her head against the wall, and they also got a doctor called in because apparently they didn't have doctors there either. So over the next few months, dozens come up to face trial for their part in the affair of the poisons. One of them was the couple Catherine Trianon and Madame Daudet, who lived together as man and wife. Trianon was Voisin's best friend, and she was described as a wanton hermaphrodite, having more learning in the tip of her finger than others acquired in a lifetime. And when her house was searched, 25 manuscript volumes on occult sciences were found. I am very annoyed because the book that is talked about is in a box in my garage, and I had to try and find it digitized online. I was like, so her girlfriend Daudet was accused of poisoning her husband and having a charms business. Unfortunately, after she had been in prison for several months, and while La Reynier and his friends were not convinced that Daudet was meddling in poison, and they were probably going to let her go, she killed herself with a knife that she hid in her dress, which is very sad. So interrogations go on. Voisin implicates the Countess of Soissons, one of Louis' first mistresses, right? So this is the escalations are going up in who's being accused. Yeah. And Olympa had, so she'd been abandoned in favor of her younger sister. So she was Louis' mistress, and then Louis threw her over for her sister, and then for another lady, right? And she was going to Voisin to get her palm read and to see if the king might love her again, right? But before she could tell her fortune, Olympa spat out that she wanted to see Louise de la Valliere, the new mistress, dead for having stolen the king from her. And if that was not possible, she would take her vengeance even farther up, which everyone thought was a bitchy thing that she would say.
Yeah.
Voisin swore that she met with her only that one time and was just to read the palm, but that her sister was one of Lesage's regular clients. And unlike her sister Marie Anne shared no past romantic history with the king, because she had a lot of sisters, and harbored no interest in gaining his affections. Instead, she just wanted to kill her husband. So Marie Anne was also known as the Duchess of Bouillon, which is great because it's like a soup. So the Duchess of Bouillon was married, and she often, though, still went after the wrong men. She flirted with her husband's brother, a cardinal, and then her family exiled her to a convent. Then she went after her nephew, the Duke of Vendôme, who was 5 years younger than her, which I think is a moot point because he's her nephew.
Yeah, like 5 years.
I think the age thing is kind of like, yeah, I think, yeah. So, I mean, and granted, at this time, they were all marrying their cousins, and, you know, so the king...
Her picker is broken, though.
Yeah, her picker is broken. So the king gives the tribunal permission to question the Duchess and the Countess, though because he was fond of them, he gave their husbands the head up that the arrests were coming. So in January, the Duchess decides that she's just going to turn herself in. And so the Duchess of Bouillon shows up arm in arm with her husband and her nephew. What? She's just like, fuck you. Like, I'll just show you up. So,
watch this.
Which is, I think, always, honestly, like, politicians, hear me out. You get accused of something, own it, right? The public is going to appreciate that a lot more than you just lying about it, right? So she shows up with her nephew and her husband, and before like the judges could even ask her any questions, she just starts talking, right? And so she's just like, nope, I just went to that area of Paris because I heard they could do magic tricks and I wanted to see them. And Lesage joined them there, and he showed me his magic tricks. And then she goes through all her stuff. And then when she's done, she just looks at the judges and being like, bitch, tell me I'm lying. And then the men were all like, we don't know what to do. We're very uncomfortable. And so they're like, well, what about like paying your Lesage to kill your husband? And so she just plays that off. And finally, one of Little Rainier looks at her and goes, and addresses her directly and asking her, like, what about like if she'd ever seen evil or if she had met Satan? And she said, Monsieur, I see him right now. He is ugly and old and disguised as a judge.
Damn.
Burn! So good. And so the judges dismiss her. And when she leaves the courtroom, she says, truly, I never would have believed such smart men could ask such dumb questions.
Damn.
Yeah, good for her. Yeah. So her sister, the Countess of Soissons, has fled after learning of her impending arrest while she was at a gambling table at her house, right? So gambling was illegal, but people did it anyways, especially if you were rich. So she and her friend, the Marquise de, I can't say her last name, they shooed their guests away, and they're like, we gotta go, things are happening. And they filled suitcases with clothes and money and jewels, and they ran for the border with their kids and household staff, which I'm assuming was probably pretty big. It's pretty giant entourage escaping away into the country. No, what? Where'd she go?
Not subtle. Not
subtle. Yeah. So she writes back after she's gone, and she is like, look, Louvois has it in for me because I wouldn't let his son marry my daughter. But I'll come back if you can promise I won't go to prison. And the judges were like, we can't promise that. So she goes around, she ends up moving to Brussels. It is rumored that Louvois arranged for dozens of black cats to be released outside of a church while she was in mass to make everybody in Brussels think she was a witch. But all of Brussels were like, we love you. We love cats. Although I think Belgium might be the place where they have the thing where they throw the cats off the thing. But anyhow, so foiled, but also, where did you get 100 black cats? And can someone do that for me? Because I think that'd be fun. So, all right. So January comes, and Voisin's daughter, Marguerite, is arrested. And then The next month, 11 months after she was arrested, her mom, Voisin, appears before the tribunal. She is condemned to death by fire. One of the judges, though, wanted to pierce her tongue and have her hand cut off, but the judges were like, the public will get too riled up. We can't have that. So we're just going to set her on fire. Yeah. So she admits
the extreme body modification lost out this time.
It did. So this is where tongue piercing comes from, apparently. So she does admit that she went to Saint Germain twice to plead for the release of her alchemist lover, Blessus, but she said she never brought powders there or to Versailles. She admitted that she and Lapierre performed a lot of abortions, but she said that Lapierre performed a lot of abortions, but she didn't, and they weren't at her house. So the doctor Vizu, whatever, and the surgeon come in to witness her torture. And although she has said she had nothing else to say, right? But they're like, we're going to torture you anyways, just in case you have anything else. So she screams. Right. They do the boots to her, right? And by so with the boots, I was going to tell you this, like, so basically they put you in a boot either made of wood or metal, and then they hammer like pieces of shit in there. So it could be metal or wood, depending on what the boot is. So they're like going through this. So the torture continues on. By the third strike, she has cried, "Have pity on me. I have told the truth. I did not bring powders to Saint Germain. I know nothing else about Madame Soissons and Madame Allouet." So they go through this. They hammer into the boots 8 times, and they don't learn anything else. But then a couple of days later, she is like, "For the sake of my conscience, I must tell you, everyone who came to me seeking death, debauchery was always at the heart of it all." So she may have just been trying to postpone her execution, or maybe like she just really like had stuff on her soul that she wanted to get off, right? And everyone says that she was confessing this whole time because they kept getting her drunk. So, but now she goes back and she was like, "Yep, I cheated Lapierre and her daughter out of the money for the abortions. I gave my neighbor poison because she fell in love with a woodworker and needed to get rid of her husband." And she kind of goes on and on. But finally, they're just like, "We're done." So at noon, they take her to a chapel inside the Bastille and force her to kneel. They reread her death sentence. A priest offered her a chance for a final confession, but she declined and said she wanted to talk to the notary to make sure that it was on record that she never gave Laferrand any vials and she had nothing to do with his death. So basically, she goes to her death saying, "I did some stuff, but I didn't do any of this poisoning shit." Yeah. Right? Like, none of this stuff was me. But go ahead and kill me, right? So she gets called out. She gets taken to make this thing at Notre Dame where they make the people who are getting executed do a final, like, say their amends and then pay the church. Because, you're going to die. Now I got to give money to the church or whatever. So, and though the executioner shoved her, she refused to kneel or to give any sign of contrition. And she was taken out at the Place de Grève and chained, seated to a large pile of logs as she spat and swore. And she kept trying to duck from the hay that they were putting on her. And they kept like, they had to do it like 6 or 7 times because she was like, "Can't get me, can't get me, can't get me." And finally, though, she caught fire and died. So her daughter was interrogated by Le Renier. She does not know her mom is dead, right? And she's telling them, though, about all these childhood memories that are coming back to her. She remembers incense and odd chanting happening in the night. And she remembers seeing a priest holding a cross as he held a communion host while her mom and a guy in a redwood chanted. And then the priest raised a wax figure over his head and put it in a box. And later that night, she went and got it, and her father grabbed it and threw it in the fire. And she figured out it was a wax figure and it was supposed to be the king. So what is happening is, a la very satanic panic, memories are coming back to someone as they're being interrogated. And they're having memories of satanic masses as a child.
Right.
When Marguerite learned of her mother's death, she was even more eager to talk. She explained that her mom's lover, Romani, and her mother had actually been employed to kill Mademoiselle de Fontaine, who is Louis's mistress. They were going to sell her a pair of poison gloves and had this note that was laced with poison that was for the king. Her mother boasted that nobody would be suspicious if they timed the deaths well. Everyone would assume that the king's mistress had died of a broken heart or vice versa. And the woman who hired her was Montespan, the king's head mistress. Because remember I said he could have more mistresses. And so this whole like affair de Voisin ends up being about whether or not this lady, Montespan, is the one, like if basically she was trying to get the king killed, right?
Yeah.
Or if any of the other nobles are. But really it's just all about Louis's mistresses.
Right.
So now we're finally like that is escalated to the top. So now the king, they're coming after the king, etc. Right. So Voisin's daughter said that Montespan hired her mom to do disgusting things, and she overheard her mom telling her best friend Triganon all the things that she was doing, right? All the things that she assigned for her, And La Reynier is like, oh, finally, like he was looking for like noble people and poisoners, like he was looking for this, right? So he's just latching on to this. And she also tells him that her mother and the midwife La Pere had a side business selling powders and potions made from the placentas, intestines, and mangled limbs of aborted and abducted children. She told him her mother had given her a newborn in a basket and then taken her daughter to a room where she and the priest Gilbert had their masses. She saw a naked woman on a mattress. The baby was given to Gilbert, who slit its throat and let its blood flow into a chalice because he had to make a phone call. No, he just put the blood into a chalice. Then he blessed the blood and dipped a host in it. And while he did that, he said the king's name and Montespan's. So based on this and other testimony, Renee was like, we've got to interview like Montespan. We've got to arrest her. And the king was like, the fuck you will. But so the king is just like, we're done. We are done. Like this has gone too high up. Right. And so, he suspends the tribunal. And however, he's not friends with Montespan at this point. He has that young mistress that had the gloves that they were going to poison, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So he's ignoring her. Like, I don't know if she poisoned me. I don't think she did. We're just not going to talk to her. Right. And the rest of the court also just kind of like starts ignoring her. And so after it's suspended, Louis demanded that La Reynier continue his investigations, but not share anything with any of the actual tribunal, right? We're just going to keep all this stuff on the down low. Nobody can know that you're still looking at this. I told you to stop, but you didn't stop, right? So, Reynier then against like, after Louis is like, we got to shut all this down and we can't have a tribunal anymore. He writes to Louvois and he is like, yo, there's 150 people in these prison cells. They haven't had a trial. They don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, we need to get this thing back up. And the king was like, I don't care. I'm going traveling. So the king just like fucks off to northern France and leaves all these people sitting in various prison cells for months. So La Reynier then suggests that Louvet and Colbert, Louis' trusted advisors, review all this evidence. He gives it all and like basically says, take this off of me, right? So Colbert reviews all the evidence and he is like, look, all these people that are saying all this shit that's happened against the nobility are all morally corrupt, right? They're all fortune tellers. They're all things, we can't trust them. Also, I'm going to have my lawyer look at this because we have 150 people that are in jail and we need to do something. So he was like, look, you can just like say like, we're going to disband this and exile everybody without any further trials. We can disband it and send the cases back to Parliament, but that's going to take a while and they're going to have to start everything all over again. We can determine which inmates were the worst, sentence them to life in prison, or we can just go reestablish the tribunal, do this really quickly, and not have any more post questions so we don't get any more people being accused, right? So they go back and forth. They finally decided that they're going to do the swift option, right? So the court was instructed to only try those cases that could be disposed of easily without jeopardizing public safety. And working against redacted records, the judges like really not knowing everything was going on. They end up trying 88 of the 194 people who'd been arrested. They did take a few prisoners who were charged with minor crimes and said that they were going to be executed so the public could learn a lesson. Whatever. that lesson was, right? So the king disbanded the tribunal and ordered the prisons emptied. Of the 106 inmates remaining, La Reynier and Louvois determined that 61 were benign enough to be released and exiled for life from France. The remaining 35, including Lesage, Guiberg, and Marie Marguerite, Voisin's daughter, were said to be too dangerous to be let go. They were ordered to various castles and work camps across the country, although Trianon killed herself before that could happen to her. Voisin's daughter was taken with 11 other women, including Boss's daughter, to an abandoned abbey on Belle Isle sur Mer, a remote island off the coast of Brittany. Writing to the governor of the island, Louvois insisted that no one should ever know their names. The women should be spared no mercy. His Majesty orders you to treat them very severely. So on this barren, windswept island, they fought to survive on scraps of bread and water and in thin sackcloths. And they had no firewood or blankets, and 2 of the women quickly succumbed. As for the others, including Marie Marguerite, their fate remains a mystery. Lesage, Guiberg, and Romani spent their final days imprisoned in the citadel of Besançon near the Swiss border, shackled hand and foot with chains barely long enough to let them lie uncomfortably on the cold floor. Their confinement was as harsh as it was isolating. Louvois wrote to the governor of the citadel, "These men have said crazy things about Madame de Montespan that are without foundation. Threaten them with the cruelest punishment if they dare make the smallest noise." Their fate was grim. Grube, for one, succumbed to the harsh conditions 4 years later, but the rest is unknown. In July 1682, Louis issued an edict vowing to punish severely all fortune tellers, magicians, witches, and poisoners. "We have employed all appropriate means possible to stop these detestable abominations in their track. This experience showed us how dangerous it is to accept the smallest transgression regarding such crimes and how difficult it is to pull out their roots." It ordered anyone engaging in fortune telling or magic to leave the kingdom immediately. For those who did not heed this warning, the king promised that their punishment would be death. As for poisoners, it did not matter whether their crime killed their victim. Even in the absence of definitive evidence, all would-be poisoners would receive the death penalty.
What?
Yeah. The king also outlawed the sale of any ingredient that could be used in poisonous mixtures, as well as the sale of any poisonous insects or reptiles, because they like to use toads.
Well, obviously.
Formal approval would be required for formulations such as arsenic or mercury chloride, necessary ingredients for certain trades such as goldsmiths and jewelers. A royal register would track all sales. So this was like the beginning of kind of like the French, FDA? I don't know what department does that here, but like whoever like tracks, like,
sounds right.
If you say like, I would like to get some sulfuric acid, whoever tracks that. So the final totals for this, between April 1679 and July 1682, the Arsenal Tribunal met 210 times. They questioned 442 people, put 218 of them in prison, executed 34 of them, and sentenced another 28 to life in prison or the galleys.
Fun. They sound like fun people.
Yeah. To sum it up in a nutshell, this is like the so all the witchy people, right? All the fortune tellers and people who read palms and like, it wasn't tarot yet, but who were reading cards and doing stuff. They're basically all rounded up, right? And most of them were either thrown out of the country or executed. And the nobles, who were the ones who were going to them, some of the nobles were killed, some of them were, and most of them were just fine because they were rich.
Crazy.
It is. And now you can see why I'm so, like, isn't that fascinating though? Like, there's so much more to go into. And it's just, there's so many things we could talk about. So we'll talk about that more and more. We'll keep going back to that. So y'all sit on that for a while and then go listen to the rest of that when it gets released. All right.
Yes.
So now that I've bummed everybody out, we're going back to the gas station.
Yeah, because Cass has got to fill up his sweet ride. And he's like, Hannah, I think we need to talk. And she's like, yeah, she's like, I didn't really like this situation. You know, I don't, Joe didn't want to let me go, or whatever Caroline is, didn't want to let her go. And I didn't want to hurt him. So, you know, but I didn't feel like erasing his memory was the right thing to do here, which is really good. Cause then you get like that eternal sunshine of a spotless mind, like equivalency. And that's really creepy. So now I'm just sad. Now I'm just fucking bummed because I know that I fucked up this dude's life by being an angel and taking his person away. And he's like, well, you did the right thing. You know, he's hurt, but at least he has a reason now and he can make sense of his loss. He's like, I took my vessel from a family twice. He was married with a kid. It was difficult but necessary because it's a mission first. And then he turns around and Hannah is not there. So, anyway. So we cut to our fancy restaurant where one of the other waiters is explaining to Dean that his did not expect to see his coworker stroke out and turn bright red.
Who does?
Dean's like his brain was boiling, and he's like, yes, exactly. He's like, and it was weird day already because there was 2 hookers with this lady here earlier too. That's odd. So Dean's like, huh, fun. So he leaves to go talk to Sam. And they're like, look, sounds like witch with 2 of Raoul's girls. And so, and Sam's also found reports of a couple of bodies being stabbed into the ceiling at some fancy ass hotels lately. But they didn't die from the stabbing. They died from their brains boiling. So they're going to go start looking at fancy ass hotels and try to find where this witch and Raoul's girls might be kicking it. And their assumption is that she's just real rich, a rich witch.
Rich witch.
So we cut back to Hannah. Hannah's in the park standing on a bridge over a stream, and it's actually a pretty little scene there. And she's thinking, and Castiel joins her, and she tells him that she is not going to go with him. She is done. She is upset about how many humans are hurt in the process of what they're doing in the pursuit of their mission, because their original mission was to take care of humans, and now they are harming them. Maybe we should refocus again. So being on Earth now, she's felt these things like passions and hungers toward Castiel, but it was nothing like what she felt when her husband Joe was there, which is really sweet. That means like through the underneath the angelness, her vessel was still like coming through. That's kind of interesting. Anyways,
yeah, that's some deep love, right? And she says that Carolyn is the one that was inside her and screaming for her life back, and it's very and she's upsetting. And she's like, hey, well, we're here to our mission is to take care of humans, and well, what about these humans that we're inside of?
Yeah, we're hurting them. This doesn't belong. These feelings aren't for us. That doesn't belong to us. We need to give them back. And so she kisses Cass on the cheek, says goodbye, and she angels the fuck out.
Vapes out? That's what I said. Vapes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like it. Blue vape out.
Yeah. Demons cock smoke out, angels vape out.
Yeah. And then it's Carolyn, and she collapses against Castiel and knows who he is. So she remembers.
Aww. She's such a good actress. I mean, I really like it when you can, the differentiation between the 2 characters. It was just, so obvious. And it was, such a split moment. It was so good.
No, it is good. So then we go to the fancy-ass hotel where Rowena and our 2 of Raoul's girls are kicking it in this hotel room. And there's a knock at the door, and she's like, oh, it's probably the hotel manager bitching because I haven't paid. Oh. And so she goes to answer it. And while she's doing that, though, she's like, by the way, girls, this will be good practice for you. Just read what I gave you on the cards I gave you. And Elle's like, I would, but I don't read Spanish. But it's not Spanish, it's Latin. Sorry, that's not how she says it. I just felt like I'd go full vocal fry for us.
It works.
And then and she's like, don't worry about it. There's the phonetics on the back. And she doesn't know what phonetics are. Anyways.
No, she doesn't.
Poor Elle. Anyways, Rowena gets to the door and she looks out the peephole and it's her Like the a guy looks like a bellhop, which would not be who was coming to tell her about the bill, but that's okay. She opens the door and he did.
It's
And it is
demons.
Demons. And they're like, by the way, we're taking you to our boss. And they bind and gag her and are dragging her. And they notify Raoul's girls that Operation Skank has been terminated.
Damn it. Granted, I run Operation Skank all the time. This Valentine's Day, I'm planning on running Operation Skank to the max. All right. So, sadly, Operation Skank, Bring Back Skank, has been terminated, and they are going to get killed and thrown out in the dumpsters. But then...
Hold on. Is this 2 episodes in a row where they've said skank?
It is.
Okay. Oh, that's just noted. Either way, of course, Sam and Dean are there. And they get in a fight. They stab the demons because they're there for Rowena. And Elle's like, oh, you should like totally do a spell to get away. And so she does. She puts a hex on Elle. And Elle screams and turns into what I guess it's a guard dog spell is what they say. So
it's an attack dog. First I'm just like, she's a fighting machine, right? And so Sam is fighting her off. Rowena and Caitlin escape to the alley.
And Dean's trying to follow her.
Yeah, and Dean's trying to go after them. And Rowena tells Caitlin that Elle's probably going to die, but you're strong. And Caitlin's like, the fuck I am, you're right. And she punches her in the face.
And runs. Because, fuck this shit. Dean is there. And he is got a gun on Rowena. Because he's like, nope. I'm stopping you. And then... she's like, he's like, your luck's run out. And she's like, not true, because Cole decided this is the perfect fucking moment to show up.
Fucking Cole!
And he's got a gun on Dean. Of course. So Dean's like, really, dude? Anyway, so Rowena gets to run off. That's the summary here. And Dean's like, look, Cole, I'm sorry about what happened last time. It was a fucking dick move. I wasn't myself. It's fine. And Cole's like, you're not a person at all. I've learned about your kind. I'm going to throw holy water all over you. And it does nothing.
Yep.
And because he's not a demon anymore. And then he's like, but were you a demon when you murdered my father?
And they fight over the gun.
No. And so they're going to fight. In the meantime, Sam has locked Elle in the closet and telling her, fight it. You can fight this spell.
But she can't. She doesn't even know what phonetics is.
No, she's not doing well. And while Dean and Cole have a big fight in the alley and they lose their guns and they're fighting and it's fine. And then finally, Sam is about to yell, oh, stop banging on the door. But she stops banging on the door and then because she's dead.
Yep. Outside, Dean throws Cole through a windshield, ends up pulling the gun on Cole. Cole tells Dean to kill me, and Dean is like, fucker, we're gonna talk. And if you don't like what you hear after that, then you can kill me, but shut the fuck up and listen.
Yes. And he's like, look, I hunt monsters. Your dad was a monster. I remember the date. I remember the city. I remember this case. So don't act like I don't fucking care or know. It was a bunch of victims with their livers were getting ripped out and eaten by your dad. So I followed him to his house and he was going to kill you or your mom. I don't know what kind of monster he was. Never seen one like it or since, which is fucking lame. Cop out storyline piece. Dislike. I don't
like this. Like, why didn't they just like make him a monster
that we know
instead of being like he's a random liver eating monster? I don't know
that what no one's ever seen or heard of before or again. Like a one of a kind. Like I get it. Doesn't have to need to be a thing or a cult. That's dumb. So dumb. The liver eater. Your daddy was a liver eater. That I don't know what the fuck. It's weird. Either way,
your daddy was a liver eater.
So and so I stopped him. Anyways, and Cole's like, I remember his human voice begging you to stop. And he's like, yeah, that monsters do that too. It's fine. That's normal. He was already gone. But that's not right either, because we don't even know what kind of monster he was. So how do you know he was gone? Was he one of those monsters where it's like Kate, where like she's like not really a monster, she's fighting it, but then like sometimes you get an urge and it's tough. Like,
yeah, I mean, this is also, it's Dean Winchester. Like, how much did you like investigate into whether or not he was actually like a monster who like needed help? Like, you,
no,
fuck
anyway,
this storyline. Fuck it.
So Sam shows up. Sam shows up and points a gun at Cole, and Dean's like, "You got to put it down." And Cole's like, "How am I supposed to even believe you? This is ridiculous." And Dean's like, "I know, I get it. The story's been keeping you going and it's blinded you. But, you know, I've got the same thing, but the people who love me keep pulling me back. But the truth is, I know I'm past saving."
And this gets real fucking dark.
It does. Because then he's like, "I know how my story ends. It ends at the end of a blade or a barrel of a gun. And this depends if it's today or not."
That's gonna be that gun. And I'm like, fuck, damn, Dean, like, you, oh shit, like, you need some antidepressants. So Sam then just jumps in on this. And he's like, Cole, like, you got a family.
Yeah. I heard you on the phone with them. They need you. They need you. Please go back to your family and don't do this. And Cole starts crying and gives Dean his gun.
So we got from that to what is apparently Caroline and Joe's house.
Yeah, because she goes up to this house. She hasn't been there in a year. She's told this man that she left him for another man. And she knocks on the door. And
he also drove all night to get to her in the hotel. So how the fuck did she get back there?
That was really fast. Yeah, that's a good question. But he just like opens the door and they go in, hug, and everything's fine. It's really weird. But
yay,
that also...
he didn't move.
I know. Well, and that sparks Castiel is now like, oh... You know, I thought I cleared everything up with my...
And now the Pitmobile also has Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, of course it does. Duh. That might have already had it.
Angel Wi-Fi? Because can angels get better Wi-Fi?
Maybe. Well, he's like, I'm going to look up my vessel because I thought everything was smooth sailing there, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe I need to check into this. Like, I mean, I pulled him from his family twice. It's got to be fine. Let's look up Jimmy Novak.
Yeah.
What you doing?
Definitely some posts about him being a missing person.
Yeah. So we go from that and then we go back to our hotel alley where we see Cole's Jeep driving off.
Yeah. Cole's leaving. Rowena got away. Sam's like, Dean is, I heard that. Is that all kind of, is that real? Is that,
would you like some Lexapro?
And Dean's like, oh, I was just telling Cole what he needed to hear. It's fine.
He just blows it off.
We gotta go. Let's go. And they walk away. So now we're gonna
go back to hell.
Yeah, we got Crowley and his demon buddy that was reporting back to him. Yeah, they're like, yeah, we definitely, our alpha team got Winchestered, but we had our beta team and they were on the perimeter and they got her, so she didn't get away. We've been, torturing her already, but we haven't finished her off. You're up if you want to. And so Crowley's like, yeah, bye. And he approaches a beaten up Rowena.
Yeah, they beat the crap out of her. Why'd they do that?
She's dangling from, chained up from the ceiling. And she just starts shit talking.
Yeah, she is egging him on and just insulting him.
It's brutal.
And he's just staring at her, just kind of dumbfounded.
Because he's only got one word to say. Mother?
God, you just missed the perfect dancing opportunity.
Mother!
The end. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about some skanks?
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
That will tell us about some skanks. I've got a brief skank update. So first off, I'll start with Raul. Was played by Michael, and Antonakis, and he's been in episodes of Fringe, Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, iZombie, Travelers, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina a couple times. He also is the voice of the mechanic in the Ninjago animated series. Caitlin was played by Chelsea Hobbs. She's been in episodes of The L Word, CSI Miami, Lucifer, and then was on a TV show called Unreal. I think it's on Netflix now. And she was Carolyn in Lords of Dogtown movie. She's also done a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies. Elle was played by Kirsten Comerford. She's been in episodes of Beauty and the Beast and Lucifer. Shailene was played by Alicia Rotaru. She's been in episodes of Hellcats multiple times, Fringe, iZombie, Travelers. She was Ingrid in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Tyann in Arrow, which is a reoccurring character Tiana, in Arrow. She's been like over a dozen times. Jane in the movie Buddy Games, and has done a lot of video game voice work. Joe, Carolyn's husband, Joe Johnson, was played by Steve Belford. He's been in episodes of Vampire Diaries and Good Witch. He was also Jesse in Degrassi, The Next Generation, as a regular character, and has done a lot of Christmas TV movies, like Hallmark movies as well. And our demon, Gerald, was played by Viv Leacock. He's been in episodes of Psych. Yeah. His name is Viv Leacock.
Awesome.
Episodes of Psych, Hellcats, Fringe, Almost Human, Arrow, X-Files, iZombie, Batwoman. He was Kinsley in Freddy vs. Jason. He was a pal in Are We There Yet? He's an officer in the movie 2012. He's a dad in Hot Tub Time Machine, and he was a bartender in Step Up All In.
Yay!
So,
I love a Step Up.
I know. If I see one of those, I'm like, I got to put that in.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think like it was a good episode introduction to a new major character. I played like I was surprised, but I'm around enough of the fandom that I obviously kind of
she's
knew
having a baby with Chuck. I mean,
or
she had a baby with Chuck. I mean,
yeah, like I've been around enough of that to like know what we're getting into with this character a little bit. Like I don't know anything about the character itself. I just know like where it fits in, I guess, in that regard. So I was not shocked that it was Crowley's mom. But I think it was a good introduction to her as a witchy character. It was a fun character, even though it's not like nice fun. It was fun. And we were talking before we started recording about the uselessness of Cole. And I don't mean this against this actor. And that is not, I want to be very clear about that.
We're very sorry that you got cast as Bonobo Jeremy.
Like, what is the point? Like, we don't understand the point of Cole. Like, I mean, especially carrying into the season, like if it's going to be like a season arc, that'd be one thing, but we're on episode 7 for the season. Like, it's like, it feels more like an afterthought, like kind of forced in this episode to wrap that storyline up. That's what it feels like to me. I don't know that it drives that much. It was not used.
But why was it there in the first place? Was it to show like Dean being a demon? To show like Dean, like the storyline and revenge? Like,
yeah, I think they were trying to further drive the story of Sam chasing Dean to rescue him and this guy chasing Dean to kill him. I think that's what it was. That's my opinion.
But that lasted like half an episode.
I know, and then they had to wrap it up because they never did.
I don't know. Or like they just had other, like I just see like this. I was picturing the writer's room board. And I just want to know where Cole is. Where is the sticky note for Cole? Why did the Cole sticky note show up on that board? And why did you pull it through? And then like in 7, when someone was like, "Nope, get rid of the sticky note." Yeah. I feel like there is like probably another purpose for Cole that got. I don't know.
Written out
we're in episode 7 and I still kind of feel like this season is just bizarre, right?
It doesn't feel like there's not a lot of cohesion in this season.
Yeah, well, we don't have an overarching big bad, which is fine, but we also don't have monsters of the week, right? And so what are we doing?
Yeah, we don't have like a mission.
Yeah, so I mean, where we're at, Dean's got the mark of Cain, but he's no longer a demon, so we don't know if he's okay, right? So we no idea. We just know that he is ready to die and needs some antidepressants.
And Cass on some like weird mission by himself now because Hannah was like deuces.
Yeah, so is now Cass gonna go look for all these angels himself?
Or is he just gonna go back to heaven because he realizes Hannah was right? Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess we have to watch the rest of the episodes to figure it out. All right. Okay, on that note, we talked way too long. Cheers, Jerk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Be a Dick production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Going up to the spirit in the sky. That's where I'm gonna go when